If I asked you what game got you into otome, what would you say? Would it be the ever-classic Hakuoki, the famous Code Realize, or would it be something entirely different? For me, it was actually a mobile game that, unbeknownst to me at the time, was part of a much larger franchise, and that game was none other than Midnight Cinderella. Midnight Cinderella, or Midcin for short, was one of the first mobile otome games by Cyberd to be released in North America, along with Destined to Love, Ikémen samurai romances. If you're wondering what the Ikémen series is, well, quite literally, the name speaks for itself. In Japanese, Ikémen is a term derived from the words ikeru and menzu. Ikeru meaning good-looking and menzu meaning men. Simply put, it means good-looking men. And the Ikémen series gives you exactly that. Each game allows you to romance a handful of men of your choosing, while getting immersed in a fictional universe full of action, drama, and mystery. Midnight Cinderella is a fantastical tale that has you becoming a princess overnight, tasked with the challenge of finding your prince consort, all the while trying to find your bearings as the kingdom's new ruler. Destined to Love is a time travel adventure where you find yourself transported back to feudal Japan, a country still filled with samurai, shogun, and danger lurking around every corner. These two titles are considered to be the main OGs for the Ikémen series in the West, and with Midnight Cinderella having over 1 million downloads in the Google Play Store alone, it's clear that these games were well received internationally. When I first played these titles in 2016, I had no idea how popular this series was, or was going to become, as these otomes proved to only be the foundation of a franchise that would grow not only in Japan, but worldwide. As of this year, in 2022, the Ikémen series has 6 running titles in the West, and today I'd like to talk to you about the 4 most recent titles: Ikémen Sengoku, Ikémen Revolution, Ikémen Vampire, and Ikémen Prince. Now, after religiously playing Midcin and Destined to Love for 1 year, I was in no means bored of playing these games, but I did wonder if they would ever release a new title. I mean, I couldn't be the only one enjoying this series, could I? At the time, I wasn't on social media very much, and I had no clue as to where I could keep up with the latest otome news. I had no idea what Cyberd was planning, if they were planning anything at all, and that is why I was pleasantly surprised one day to notice in my app store that they had released a new title named Ikémen Sengoku. I'm telling you guys, never have I ever smashed the download button more quickly in my life. And it wasn't long before I found myself thrown yet again into a new world full of drama and romance. Ikémen Sengoku follows our main character in modern-day Kyoto, who one day is transported to the Sengoku era by a wormhole that opened up during a storm. Our heroine finds herself in a burning temple along with a man with whom she helps escape the inferno, only to realize that that man himself is Oda Nobunaga, the great unifier of Japan. After being brought back to Azuchi Castle, she finds herself greeted by many other historical men in history, such as Tokugawa Ieyasu, Date Masamune, and even meeting Nobunaga's enemies, such as Takeda Shingen and Yukimura Sanada. After meeting a fellow time traveler, she finds a glimmer of hope as she's informed that she'll be able to return back home when the next wormhole opens up. But will she be able to adjust to her new life in the past? And even more worrisome, will she be able to survive in this warring states period? This game took me by surprise. I already experienced historical fantasy with their release of Destined to Love a few years prior, but it's like they took that game and just amplified it by 1,000. All the characters in this game are based on real-life people, and after learning so many, I thought to myself, why was this never taught to me in school? You know what the extent of my Japanese history in school consisted of? Us watching The Last Samurai. I'm not even joking. I've learned more from a freaking otome game than my actual education, and I don't know whether to be proud or saddened by that fact. This was the first title where you could very clearly see the advancement in production value, and after playing this, I was very excited to see what else the developers could bring to the table. Just 1 year later, Cyberd released their newest title to the franchise, Ikémen Revolution. The game follows our main heroine, who is working her dream job at a popular confectionery in 19th century London. One night after her shift, she bumps into a peculiar-looking man, and when he takes off in a hurry, she realizes that he's dropped his pocket watch. Chasing after the fellow, she discovers that he's disappeared without a trace in the park, and after investigating where she last saw him, she finds herself falling down a rabbit hole that leads her to a fantastical, magical-filled country called Cradle. After encountering many residents of this new country, she's able to find the man that she had originally lost back in the park, and he informs her of her current situation. Cradle is a military state ruled by two armies fighting for power, and with our heroine finding out that she can nullify the magic in this world, she's caught the interest of not only the Black and Red Army, but an even more sinister organization working behind the scenes. Learning that she can return to her homeland during the next full moon 1 month from now, she seeks refuge with the Black Army and begins her new life in this wonderland of a world. This game is heavily inspired by Alice in Wonderland, which is conveyed through the settings and characters, and it was really interesting to see their take on this classic fairy tale. If you enjoy fantasy adventure otomes, then this title is the game for you. At this point, the company already had a good range of otomes under their belt. From fairy tale romances to historical fantasy, these games had something for everyone. Or should I say, someone for everyone. But you know what was missing? You know what I was craving? Something dark, something steamy, something with a little bit of mystery, and that is exactly what they delivered with the release of Ikémen Vampire. Ikémen Vampire takes place in modern-day France, where our heroine is a travel agent slash blogger who is currently writing a blog about her travels in Paris. One day, while visiting the Louvre, she encounters a gentleman that gives off an otherworldly air, and as she follows him deeper into the museum, she finds herself in front of an intricately carved door. After entering, she finds herself in an opulent mansion, being occupied by some of history's greatest men, such as Leonardo Da Vinci, Dazai Osamu, and Vincent van Gogh. But that doesn't make any sense. How can someone who lived in the 15th century and 20th century be alive and living together? Well, it turns out that the gentleman we encountered back at the Louvre has brought all these men back to life by, and you probably guessed it, by becoming vampires. As our heroine finds herself now trapped in 19th century Paris, she must wait 1 month before she'll be able to return back to present-day France. Will she be able to hold out until then, or will she get caught up in the bloodlust of the mansion's residents? I'm just going to put this out here right now. This is my favorite title out of the 4. I am a massive fan of European history, and this game is in no short supply of that. Obviously, this is a historical fantasy, so many of the events they talk about are not historically accurate in the slightest. But it was really interesting to see where they made changes in the characters' lives that do actually tie into real-life events that have happened. Plus, I can't deny the appeal in vampires. They are a classic trope in teen/young adult novels. Yes, I'll admit it, I was one of those Twilight fanatics back in the day, so if you told my teenage self that even over a decade later, I'd still be consuming vampire romance media, she'd be absolutely quaking in her heelys. Never in my life did I think I say I would be romancing Napoleon Bonaparte, and yet here we are. Finally, we have Ikémen Prince, which is their latest English release that came out last summer. Ikémen Prince follows our heroine living in a fictional country named Rhodolite. She lives a content, simple life working in a local bookstore, until one day the minister selects her to become the country's next belle. Belle has the important task of selecting the next king to rule should the current king pass away, which is exactly what has happened. During this selection process, she must live within the palace with the 8 princes and determine who is the most suitable for the position. She has been given the time limit of 1 month to make the decision, until all the petals of a rose have fallen. And once the selection has been made, she must leave the palace immediately and never make contact with the king again under any circumstances. Will she be able to simply fulfill her duty, or will she find herself caught up in a love tale even greater than any novel she's ever read? Like Ikémen Revolution, this game is heavily influenced by the tale of Beauty and the Beast, Belle being the beauty, and the 8 princes respectively being the beasts. This series is still quite new to the West, so while there aren't many routes released right now, the ones that are will definitely give you your fill on drama, action, and of course, romance. Now, let's move on to the gameplay of each title. Every game in the Ikémen series follows the same format. Each route is played on a chapter-by-chapter basis, where you will receive 5 free chapter tickets per day. You can read more chapters if you wish, by either purchasing in-game currency through microtransactions, or by completing tasks in the game that can help accumulate free in-game currency. Similar to other mobile games out there, each title has a gacha system. Now what would an otome be without gacha games? Apart from Ikémen Sengoku, the other 3 titles have many different gachas where you can roll for avatar outfits, standard illustrations, and limited edition illustrations for the many love interests. Ikémen Sengoku has a little bit of a different system, where you can normally only roll for avatar outfits, but every now and then they'll throw in some character stories, voice messages, or illustrations, depending on how many times you roll within that gacha period. You must have gacha tokens to pull, and you can earn these by either completing tasks within the game, earn tokens from daily login rewards, or by using game currency to purchase tokens. Along with the main routes, these games will also hold special event stories and collection events, where you can experience a new side story with select characters, some of which may not even be available in the main game yet. You can earn rewards during these events, such as bonus side stories, chapter tickets, avatar clothing items, and even some new character illustrations. These events are frequently being released, so you'll never run out of new content in these games, which is both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because I never get bored of these titles, and a curse because there's so many events that I just can't keep up with them all the time. I'd like to take a moment here to mention that all these titles are rated 17+, meaning that these games are meant for mature audiences, as there are mentions of drugs and alcohol, violence, and sexual content. So if you're sensitive to any of these themes, then I would go ahead and give these games a pass. If you're still interested in playing these games, but are a bit hesitant, I would definitely recommend checking out Ikémen Revolution first, then Ikémen Sengoku, and then Ikémen Vampire and Prince. Revolution is the most tame, so I would test the waters with that first, and if it piques your interest, then I would tread a bit further to the other titles. Now, why am I talking to you guys about this series today? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, this is a monumental year for the Ikémen series, as they are celebrating their 10-year anniversary for the Japanese games, 7th year in the English versions, and 6th in Taiwan. And it seems like Cybird has been cooking up something special for us fans. Earlier this year, on social media, they were dropping subtle hints that something big was coming when they released a comic showing our 4 main heroines banding together to create a new look for one another and declaring a new era for themselves. Fans were eagerly awaiting the result for our 4 best girls, and we were not disappointed when in May they dropped this stunning illustration of the ladies looking incredible. The excitement didn't stop there, as they continued to release individual illustrations for each heroine with a handful of the love interests in their respective game. As of the time I'm recording this video, they have released Ikémen Sengoku, Vampire, and Prince illustrations, and I am in awe with every single release. I mean, I had just picked my jaw up off the floor with the release of the 4 main heroines, only for it to immediately drop again when they released the Ikémen Sengoku illustration. Look at them all! Look at my man Mitsuhide! A girl can only handle so much, Cybird. Give me some time to breathe! But Cybird didn't stop there. Oh no! They continued to surprise us as they announced that they will be releasing a theme song for the 4 otome games that I mentioned today, titled All for Love. This song will be performed by Japanese artist Kumi Koda and will be released on July 1st. As stated on the Ikémen series website, the single is an encouraging fight song for all the Ikémen series heroines, the Ikémen guys, but most importantly for all the Ikémen series fans. And to top it all off, they will be at Anime Expo this year, which they hadn't been able to attend for the last 3 years, and that's wonderful news for fans going to AX this year. Along with these announcements they have made, they are also currently holding a campaign called All for Love, and you can participate by uploading a photo that represents anything you want to give your all to, whether it be a favorite character, product, dream, or something entirely different. The choice is up to you. You can find all of the details on their website, and they will be creating a video based on the entries, which will be released at a later date. The second reason why I'm making this video is because, as a massive fan of the series, I genuinely want these games to gain more recognition. As an otome fan, the one aspect that I sometimes struggle with is connecting with the main character. Some heroines are either too young, too naive, or are just boring that I couldn't even be invested in their story even if I tried. And that's why the Ikémen series is such a breath of fresh air to me. First of all the heroines are adult women. They're not young teenage girls looking at the world through a rose-colored lens, romanticizing every aspect in their life. These women are grown up. They've already lived through their teens and know the reality of life. They've grown to have their own goals and aspirations, and are even making names for themselves in their careers. For example, in Ikémen Vampire, the main character is an agent and blogger. In Ikémen Sengoku, our heroine is about to start her dream job as a fashion designer. And in Ikémen Prince, our heroine recognizes that many people around her age have already married, settled down, and started families of their own. It's these simple, mundane factors that give the illusion that this could happen to you, which is why these games resonate so well with women in their 20s and above. Another major plus for me is the heroines' personalities. These are some of the most well-written characters I've come across in otomes I've played, whether they be on mobile or console games. Each MC has their own personality, their own beliefs, and their own driving forces for behaving the way they do. When their life has been turned upside down by the situation they've been dropped into, they don't throw their hands up in the air and admit defeat, but think, okay, here's what's happened, now how are we going to deal with this? Although they have moments of weakness, like every person does, they learn to adapt and overcome whatever obstacle that's been thrust upon them. And that resonated with me personally. Plus, these women know how to stand their ground, especially the heroine in Ikémen Sengoku, who is my personal favorite out of the four. She's very headstrong, speaks her mind, and won't hesitate to backtalk to the literal unifiers of Japan. If that doesn't strike you as gutsy, then I don't know what will. It's all of these aspects that make the heroines feel down to earth, and make you believe that this could be you. It's because of this fact these games still have me hooked, even 6 years after playing the first title. I still look forward to ending my night with these games, using my daily chapters to see what will happen to these characters who I've come to adore so dearly. If you asked for my recommendation on a good mobile otome, I would, without a doubt, recommend these titles to you. Over the years, I've had the chance to play many other mobile games, but time and time again, I've always gone back to the Ikémen series, because they scratch every itch I look for in an otome. Well-written characters, a captivating plot, beautiful artwork, and with new story events popping up every month, I never get bored with playing these games. There's always something new to discover, whether it be a birthday story release for a love interest, or a limited edition gacha to add to your collection. Did I mention these games have voice acting? That's right! Every Ikémen series game is voiced to some degree. And I'm not talking about your everyday Joe Blow voice acting. We're talking about well-renowned voice actors in the anime industry, such as Yukikaji, Kenjiro Suda, Nobuhiko Okamoto, Yuki Ono, and so many more. I just listed one voice actor per game, and each game has well over 10 love interests, so you can imagine how many more seiyus have took part in this series. Another reason I want these games to gain more recognition is because these titles already have a decent fan base in Japan, especially Ikémen Sengoku. Over the years, the Ikémen series has had collaboration cafes, tour group collaborations, and they even had an Ikémen Sengoku capsule hotel collaboration where you could find illustrations of the popular series spread throughout the capsules, the shower rooms, and even the lockers. Ikémen Sengoku was so well received in Japan that they released a physical game on the PS Vita in March of 2018. This year, they went even further and released it on the Nintendo Switch with both a regular and a limited edition. So this game is still going as strong as ever. It may be wishful thinking on my part, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed in the hopes that this game will get localized in the West, because I know many others would love to see this title on major gaming platforms. If you've made it this far in the video, you may be thinking, Natalie, this video seems very biased. And yes, you would be correct. This is not a review video, this is just me, a humble fan, trying to spread word of this wonderful series in the hopes that someone else will give these games a go, just as I had years ago. The final reason I want to make this video is to simply say thank you. Thank you, Cybird, for creating these exceptional games. Thank you for reminding me that even as an adult woman, it's okay for me to still fantasize about being a citizen in a fairy tale kingdom, finding myself in a world full of magic, or being transported back in time. Thank you for reminding me that it's okay to have an imagination in a time in my life where society emphasizes growing up and facing reality. Thank you for your ad on my Facebook profile years ago that said, "Who will you choose as your prince?" And although at first I had rolled my eyes and thought, how silly, it still nonetheless caught my attention. Not even one day later, I was immersed in Lewis's route in Midnight Cinderella, and there was no going back for me after that. Not that I would have wanted to. Thank you for introducing me to otome games. Prior to that first encounter, I had never even heard the word otome, and without those mobile games, I would not be where I am today. I would never have discovered all the amazing titles that are now on the Switch, Steam, and many other platforms. Thank you for gently taking my hand and guiding me to the otome gate, before unceremoniously shoving me into the hands of 2D men vying for my unconditional love. Thank you for bringing me out of my comfort zone. I was never the type to make posts, interact with others online, or comment on YouTube videos. I was very much a silent onlooker, but as my love for these games grew, I realized that there were other fans out there in the same shoes as me. I always thought my opinion didn't matter, and no one would care with what I had to say. But one day, on a whim, I ended up making a meme on Tumblr, and to my surprise, it garnered way more attention than I thought it would. It was at that point that I felt like I had found my place within the otome community, and I slowly but surely came out of my shell, interacting with other Ikémen lovers, gushing about our newest crush, or laughing at the newest out-of-context image that we created. Without all those little things, I would not be where I am today. I don't know where I would be now without those games, but I most certainly know that I wouldn't be here on YouTube, creating content and getting the chance to connect with many other otome fans all over the world, and for that, I am forever grateful. This is my love letter to the Ikémen series. Happy anniversary, and here's to many more. All for Ikémen, all for love.